Hey, welcome to a new video. In today's video, I'm going to go over a set of final repairs on my RV. Now, I've had this RV for about a year, and if you're in the market looking for a new RV, it usually takes about a year, maybe a little bit more, to work out all the bugs on these things. So I'm going to go over a bunch of repairs that I haven't shown before. Now, most of these are not going to be Dynamax specific, so it may be useful to you if you don't own a Dynamax. So let's jump into it. Now, when you have a new RV, most of these RVs have this wallpaper on the walls. And something I would suggest right away, I did show this on my Winnebago, but you can get this wallpaper seam tape. You just basically call your RV dealer, or basically the manufacturer, the parts department, and you give them the VIN number, and they can give you the exact wallpaper. And I'd suggest doing that up front before it gets discontinued or the dye lot changes. So get this seam tape. You could also get the sheets, but let's go back here. If you recall, if you've seen my previous video, I fixed this wall back here. My wall was bulging out, and in order to fix it, I had to take the seam tape off. And when I took the original seam tape off, I put it back on, tried to reuse it, but it had all these ripples in it, so it was damaged, so I couldn't reuse this. So I'm going to take this back off and put that new seam tape back on, and you'll see little areas like this where I have a hole outside of the seam tape. So I'll use that seam tape for the repair on this as well. I don't know how much I'm going to show on video. There's not much to see. It's basically just like tape. When you peel this off, you do have to be careful because the wallpaper underneath might want to come down, so you're going to want to use two hands and hold the wallpaper behind and pull this tape off really slowly. Alright, I got all the seam tape off, so now it's time to put on the new seam tape. This is pretty self-explanatory. Just take your time and go down the seam. Now, you don't have to go down the center. If you look really closely here, you see where the two panels come together. There's always a seam, and there's going to be a little piece of tape if you pay attention carefully. It's the same color as the wallpaper next to it. So let's go ahead and put that new seam tape on. Okay, I'll fast forward this part. There's not much to see here. And let me show you, once you get to the bottom here, what I like to do, instead of using scissors, because when you cut it across with scissors, sometimes you can't get it perfect, and I want to try to make it straight as possible, so I just use a utility knife, and I follow the basically the edge of this trim down below, and just go slow. Then you don't have to worry about cutting an imperfect line here. So that's it. I would highly suggest getting this seam tape. So I did miss a couple of areas here. This is where I had a hole, or an extra hole, when I was fixing the paneling. So I'll use the same thing. I'll just cut a little piece of seam tape and I'll cover that blemish. Let me show you. Alright, where this little hole here is, I'm going to just put this little sliver here. And it's not going to be perfect, you're not going to fool anyone. But I'm just going to put this little sliver right next to this piece here and try to line up the holes. And again, it's not going to be perfect. I definitely know it will be there, but it's sure better than that raw wood that was exposed. But that's really it. I would definitely suggest ordering the seam tape right away, so it's really easy to do some repairs. And I have some even here. If you look at here, this blemish, now this was like that from the factory, so I can run that piece down this whole section here and redo this and make this blemish go away. Let's jump on to the next project. Alright, you're going to hear a little bit of an echo here. Now, jumping to my next item, in my previous video I showed you that I repaired the caulking on here that was all cracked. I do have an issue here. I have some blemishes here where I put the pins in, so I'm not really happy with the quality of work that I did, but this is a perfect situation. I can put that seam tape in. So I did the same thing. I took the seam tape, I basically bent it hard to a 90-degree corner, and I will end up sticking it up there. and it will blend in. So let me just show you the finished project. Alright, here's the finished seam tape if you look here. Now because it's an inside corner, it's a little harder to do than you would think, because you have to fold the piece and then peel that paper in the back. So you do have to watch out for these little seams or creases, because I don't know if you can see this, but the creases come through. So I'll have to apply some heat on that and see if I can smoothen that out. But now I don't have to worry about that ever cracking again, because it's behind that seam tape. But like I mentioned, get this wallpaper tape from the manufacturer. I wouldn't call the dealer. You can call the manufacturer parts and order that right away. And I always have some on hand, because even if you decide to screw something to the wall, after you take it out, you can at least make a repair. So here's an example. There's that factory seam tape where these two panels come together. But let's go ahead and jump on to the next project. And here's another area. I wouldn't really call it a repair. Could be a repair or modification, but if you look, my exterior temperature is 102 degrees. My rear AC unit in the back by the bedroom is about 75 degrees. And the front area is 75 degrees. This little temperature here is the tank compartment. I didn't show you on this particular RV, but I do have the RV airflow modification. Prior to that, these air conditioners were super loud, and of course it also did not distribute the air very well. But I know there's a lot of complaints usually about that the AC cannot keep up. But I've had this up to 112 degrees and no problem keeping it 74, 75 degrees in here. So that is a repair. These factory RV AC units are not the most efficient on how the air path flows out. So that RV airflow modification, again, I didn't show that on this particular RV, but if you go back to some of my older videos on the Winnebago, I did do an AC modification, but basically the same principle, much easier to install on this RV. But let's jump on to the next repair. Here's my next item. I did a video previously. My original factory heater in my bathroom came out here. It's just a little 3-inch with a 2-inch duct that came out there. My bathroom was way too cold, so I ended up running another duct over here and moved it over here so it would blow straight into the bathroom. But that still ended up being too cold, so now I'm going to run another 2-inch duct, because I don't have room to really put a 4-inch in here without it just blowing in the back of the door. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Also, I didn't want to change this hole size here. I'm just going to go with the factory hole. I ended up buying one of these online on Amazon. It's very similar to the factory size one. So we're going to go ahead and put that over there. But I guess this is not Dynamax specific either. So if you have a cold or hot zone, you know, it's pretty simple to run new ducting as long as you have access to the furnace. Let's go over here. So I have pretty easy access to the furnace here. And if you can see here, this is underneath my refrigerator. And this is my Suburban furnace. So you can get these little adapters here. Let me see if I can twist that one off. There's a little notch associated with it in the back. Let me see if I can get this. Yeah, you see that little notch right there? You gotta move it around to there, and we can take that off. I'm gonna need both hands, but I got one of these little 2-inch adapters. So you can get a 4-inch or a 2-inch adapter and run all new ducting. You know, all this ducting is pretty readily available. I ended up getting this from, I believe, Rec Pro. Now this silver stuff, I'll call it this dull silver. This is probably the highest quality. It's more like a PVC, very strong, unlike that dryer duct that you're used to. So I would highly suggest getting this and not using that dryer duct type. So I'm going to go ahead and twist this off. I'll need both hands, and we'll put this new one on. Alright, I ended up taking this 4-inch off. So this duct collar here. So before this duct collar, what was here before, if you see that hole there, what was there before was just a flat plate. It's called a knockout plate. It has perforations in it, and you just knock them out. And this hole is existing. I can't show you what that knockout looked like before, but basically it was just a solid plate and you can see the lines going around. Now putting this one in, let me see if I can do this with one hand here, but you see the same thing. You see that notch right there that lines up with this? You would slide this part up on top. Let me see if I can show it from the back side here. You can see that notch right there. Then you just twist, you end up twisting this, just like that. So long as that notch is not lined up with that, I'll probably do what I did with over here is I ran some foil tape on here so it prevents all the air from bleeding through. There's little cracks there, so it will provide better airflow. And I'm gonna run this back over there. That goes towards my bathroom back there, and replace this. So I'll show you the finished project. Here's the finished project. So I ended up running a silver line here, put a new silver duct adapter here. I did change out the black duct that I put in there before. That black duct I had, it seemed to not carry the heat as well. So in my mind anyways, so I decided to switch that out because I had plenty of this silver type ducting and it's a little bit stronger. So if you are wanting to add heat anywhere in your RV, these furnaces usually have ports on the side and the front and even the opposite side. You just need to be able to have access to it. And you can run this ducting anywhere. And going back to the bathroom, what I did was, you can see this silver duct that I replaced, or that black ducting that I replaced with silver. I did put a new diffuser there, and if you look under here, ran a new 2-inch over here. So basically this bathroom now originally only had one 2-inch. Now it has two 2-inch ducts coming in here. So hopefully this bathroom can keep up in the winter weather. That was the problem I was struggling with, is in the real cold weather, this bathroom never got warm enough. So now that I've doubled the heat capacity, it should do better. Now again, this is not this RV specific. You know, most RVs, if you have a propane furnace anyways, you're going to have the Atwood or the Suburban furnace, and really easy to modify and add that ducting. So if you wanted to actually add a 4-inch duct, you just have to buy one of these duct collars here and twist it on and buy the new ducting, and you can distribute it to anywhere in the RV that has a hot, I wouldn't say hot spot, probably more like a cold spot. And that should alleviate the problem, or at least make it that much better. I think that's it for the interior. I do have some exterior stuff. I'm not sure if I'm going to make it a part 2 video. This is getting pretty long-winded, but let's jump on to the next project.